Welcome back, Dead Ball Dancing on Club 602's YouTube. I'm here with my buddy Justin. What's going on, bud?
What's up? What's up? Almost Christmas time, so we're feeling light. We're feeling airy. Time to drink whiskey. It's yeah. So, you lost that bet last week.
I'll have you know that this is a bourbon, which, according to the letter of the rule that we put in place, is legal.
We said it was good.
I do have this really, really nice rye that I'm going to have to wait on, though, because I think that's a whiskey.
If it's that nice, I'll let it pass. If it's that, but as long as you share it. So
yeah, you got to come on by. It's good stuff from right here in Arizona. So
okay, all right, yeah, I'll make a pit stop for sure.
Well, hey, Dead Ball Dancing guys, college basketball. This is episode 7. And man, we are kind of flying through the season here. We are almost into conference schedules. I was watching a game the other day, just kind of clicking around and didn't realize it was a conference game. And know that it matters more because if you can't make the tournament on your own merits, you really want a good seed in your conference tournament so you can win it and get an auto bid.
What
interesting.
What conference is playing already?
I think it was just a one-off. But I'm not going to tell you which one because I want to talk about it here in a little bit.
Got you. Okay, I'm not going to spoil it. Yeah. I know one of the notes we had was no movement in the top 5. Yeah.
Absolutely. No shift. You see the rest of the board, all kinds of changes. But yeah, no movement in the top 5. Kind of settled in here. You and I were talking pre-show just a little bit about Tennessee. But I mean, they still look fantastic. I'm not sure it's going to survive SEC play, but they're doing what they got to do to win now. Yeah. So yeah, Tennessee, Auburn, Iowa State, Florida, Bama, right up top there.
Yeah, and I mean that Tennessee Illinois game, we might as well just recap it now. Like you're right, Tennessee does look really good. They held Illinois to 29% from the field and 17% from 3, which to me, like we kind of knew that Tennessee was going to be a really good defensive team. But they only shot 32%, which, when we were talking about a game of the week last week, I was going over every single one of their field goal percentages that they've shot, year to date. And it was like 56, 60, 40, 55. And they come with a 32 ball. And I think to your point, Rick, it's like if they take that shooting performance against Bama or they take that shooting performance against Auburn, like they're going to get themselves into some serious trouble because those teams can play defense too. And Illinois kind of showed that Tennessee can be vulnerable to a team that can play defense. And I think the only reason they won that game was offensive rebounds. They had 17 offensive boards, which, as you know, like second chances are everything. So I was disappointed in the performance all around, but they sure look good on the defensive side of the ball. But weird game, just weird, just very weird.
And I like that we have this aggregate here because none of us have 4 SEC teams in the top 5. Not us, not the AP, not Ken Palm, but it has aggregated out this way. And it's interesting just as a note on rankings because they're all going to play each other.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not going to end up this way. Even if these teams make it down to the very end of the season, they're not, it's impossible for them all to be top 5 teams.
Yeah.
So, when I'm looking at it holistically, the SEC is the conference to beat, right? Yeah. And as you start getting closer to tournament time and you talk about who's on the 1 seeds, who's on the 2, which conference has teams on the top 4 lines.
Yeah.
And, you even look a little bit further down here. And I know we'll touch on it, but Mississippi State are sitting in here too. I mean, the SEC is stacked, and I don't think it's crazy to go out and say like you might have 10 SEC teams make the tournament.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and we haven't really like seen Oklahoma go up against a super powerhouse. I mean, at the time it was Arizona and flacked them. But I mean, Oklahoma could get into the SEC and make some noise too, right? Like they play some downright gritty ball, which I'll get into a little bit later. But I mean, half the conference is making the tournament. Like at least half that conference is making the tournament. And I wouldn't be surprised if like 60 or 70% does, just given the track record that the conference has this year, But yeah, what a week. I mean, my first note that I have on our notes is goodbye Gonzaga. I mean, just get out. And before I go into that, just some movement in my top 25. Out, I have Gonzaga, Creighton, and St. Mary's. And then in, I threw in Utah State, Michigan State, and Illinois just really impressed me. So I put Illinois back in. But Gonzaga looked very weak. You can't lose to UConn after you already kind of crapped the bed against West Virginia and Kentucky. And the biggest question that I have about Gonzaga and Mark right now is, what happened to their shooting, man? Like, they used to be a 3-point powerhouse where they would get into the lane, kick out to the corners, wings, anywhere, and they had snipers, right? But they're 76 for 224 from three this year. And that's not the Gonzaga that I've remembered. That has been a thorn in my side for as long as I've watched college basketball. So, if, and I mean big if, they make the tournament, they're not going to do anything with 33% from the three. Like, they're just not, right? So that was one of the biggest surprises for me before I pass it back to you. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just expand on that a little bit. Fact check me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I feel like Gonzaga has played a tougher early season schedule this year than I remember them playing in the past. And I think you're absolutely right about everything except them potentially not making the tournament. Because as you said, you dropped St. Mary's as well. St. Mary's looks like shit, and they're losing games that they normally don't. One of those teams is the auto bid, so like they're in, right? So I think we should be more talking about like Gonzaga, you suck, and you might get bounced by like a really strong 12 seed. You might be sitting there as an auto bid conference champion and just get shellacked by like the ninth best team out of the SEC.
Agreed. And man, talk about I know early in the season too, we were kind of focusing a lot on the mid majors, and one that we have on here that's become quickly like one of my favorites, and I think yours too, is Dayton, man. Like, oh my God. I mean, I was joking early in the year. I was like, okay, like this team's been perennially pretty good, right? Like they played really tough opponents. Dude, they're like wildly efficient and on both sides of the ball. And their two losses is UNC and Iowa State, which we know about Iowa State this year, by a combined 7 points. Right. So like, talk about some good losses, man. And now they're beating, who do they beat this week? I mean, they're beating some serious teams. They beat Marquette this week. And they're shooting 50% from the field. Like, it's just, I really like their style of play. They've shot 250 free throws, which means they're just getting downhill and throwing their bodies into the defense when they go into the basket. And I like that style of play in the tournament, because if you're making your free throws, then you're going to win games. So I was really impressed with Dayton for sure. That was one of the things that I absolutely wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I think the big call out for me is there's some stuff coming here. There's some stuff coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
Mississippi State and Michigan State. Michigan just missed our rankings.
Yeah.
Those teams eventually are going to play each other, and it's coming up here late January, late February, and I think there's a collision course coming in our rankings, because these teams can continue to play the way they have and continue to win. Obviously, you get into Big Ten schedule, you get in the SEC schedule, I understand, but these could be the teams battling to be the last team in their conferences. And I think it's really cool when we can feature real rivalry games from schools that hate each other, and just focus on the basketball there. So I'm excited for those coming up here. But one other call out that I had, watch out for Drake.
I saw that and I just didn't want to say anything. I wanted to let you go.
Man, Drake is very sneaky quiet. This was the game I was watching. They've already got a conference game under their belt. They're undefeated. I get it. It's Drake. It's the Missouri Valley Conference.
Okay.
I get it. But there is an auto bid on the line. This team beat Miami,
which is wild.
This team beat Vandy, and Vandy's what it is, right? But if you tell me that Vandy can't recruit better basketball players than Drake, I'd call you a liar.
Correct. You would think just NIL wise, right? Like
they are shooting 50% for the season. They are 18th in the country in shooting. They're shooting 60% from two, 11th in the country.
You're starting to think like me. I'm so proud. Right now.
and they played all their hard games already.
Yeah.
Now they're going to play like Southern Illinois and like I don't even think Illinois State's in that conference anymore. It's a bunch of trash.
Yeah.
So like if Drake runs the table, which is really hard to do in college basketball.
Yeah.
But if they run the table, I don't think we're talking about MVC auto qualifier Drake. I think we're talking about like a top 5 seed Drake. And if they can continue shooting in that way against the bigger teams on their schedule, I mean, the sky's the limit, man. If you could walk into a tournament game and shoot 60% from 2, you're probably going to win that game.
And you put I was reading yours too, because I'm going to piggyback off of your Mississippi State here thing shortly. But when you said that they beat like UM and Vanderbilt, like I was like, oh damn, like maybe they should be on notice. Like we might have to feature a Drake game here on the channel here pretty shortly, especially if they're beating ACC and SEC teams. I mean, we just said SEC teams, or SEC is probably the best conference in basketball, and even if you're taking out low-end teams in that conference, like you deserve some sort of attention, right? So I really like your call out there. That's I'm impressed, because I wouldn't have chose any team from Missouri Valley Conference. Like just wouldn't have done it.
I just had to sneak that one in there because I have them in my top 30 now.
Do you? Where do you got them?
30 at 30.
You got them at 30. Okay. Yeah. Something to pay attention to. And I really liked your Mississippi State comparison here, because when I looked into it, I added the note that is the entire state of Mississippi just balling right now. Like, and I'm not even impressed with them on the offensive side of the ball, because I think there's definitely stuff to be desired, and I'll go into that a little bit here. But like for Ole Miss, good luck scoring on Ole Miss. Like I don't know what that coach is having them practice, but they are forcing 16 turnovers a game and generating 21 points off of turnovers. They're holding teams to 40% from the field on 528 attempts, 30% from 3, and only 69 from the free throw line. This is what's more impressive, right? So they're limiting teams to 528 attempts, right? They themselves have shot 613 attempts. That's a huge disparity. So whether it's because you're generating turnovers or grabbing offensive rebounds, you are getting so many more chances to score on a game-by-game basis that you're going to win tough games if you're playing that style of defense. They're not impressive offensively. They're only shooting 47% from the field and 37% from the three-point line. But, that old saying that defense wins championships. I mean, UConn just won back-to-back championships with 2 of the best defensive basketball players that we've seen in a long time, and Klingon and Castle. And I'm not saying Ole Miss is going to, win the tournament, but they can make some noise in that SEC tournament if they play this style of basketball. And Mississippi State's the same way. Like they're forcing 15 turnovers a game and getting 18 points off. And when you're generating those types of attempts and opportunities, like you're just going to win games. So I was very impressed with the state of Mississippi. And one of the other notes that I had, I wanted to throw a couple jabs at you here and kind of let you respond, is you got to give me some background on why you have Houston over Iowa State in your rankings. You just
I don't like Iowa State. They don't pass the eye test for me. They don't look like winners. They take plays off on the defensive side of the ball, and I want them to lose. I could call that out as a bias for myself. I don't like Iowa State. I don't know what it is. I don't have any historical grievance against Iowa State. I just don't like the way they look on the court, and I feel like it's going to catch up with them eventually. They have players who, at times, right? It's not all the time. They're an awesome team. Mm-hmm. They have players that look disinterested, and they have little habits in transition that I think are going to catch up with them.
Okay.
So they're a great team. They're behind Houston for me. I think Houston is still the best team in what could be a really, really stacked Big 12.
Yeah.
Like I said, Iowa State's a great team.
Yeah.
They're behind Houston for that reason. I think Houston is the better team.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I wanted to start some friendly banter on the channel here so people can
totally fair.
Give me some comments. We want some engagement in the comments. But I think the reason why I have Houston, I think, pretty low in mine, I have them at 16, is historically the reason why Houston has impressed me is because of their tenacious defense. Like you think of Houston, you don't think necessarily that they're going to shoot the lights out every single game, because they're not. They're only shooting 46% from inside the 3-point line, which is not going to get it done, right? But they're averaging 18 fouls a game, and like I'm just trying to think like what team that has won March Madness in the past, call it 10 years, has averaged over 15 fouls a game. That's a stat that I'm going to look into and come back to the answer. But
can't be many.
It can be many, right? And like they're averaging 10 turnovers a game versus 13 assists. And the Houston that I remember from last year, who was a 1 seed, or the years before that were a 1 seed, they were just better on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that's why I'm a little bit higher on Iowa State versus Houston, is because I feel like they're a little bit more locked in on the defensive side of the ball. But I'm excited. I hope, man, can you imagine if they play? We could put a bet on this right now. Like,
they're gonna play.
Oh,
I am not familiar with the new Big 12 schedule with all their new teams, but they might play twice.
Possible. One home, one away. Yeah, it's going to be a game of the week. I can feel that one coming right now. That is definitely be a game of the week. But yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because I have Iowa State at 1, and I know that Houston's been struggling, so I wanted to get your take.
Yeah, that's all it was, and I'm trying to find the kids' names so I can call them out. But one of them just lazy as hell, man. Every time I watch it, it makes me just like physically ill. Like if I had all those gifts, like I would want more.
I want our viewers in the comments to tell us who's better, Houston or Iowa State. You have to give us that engagement in the comments.
It's Nate Heiss. Nate Heiss.
Okay.
And he's not a starter. He's one of the backup guards, but he just dogs it out there.
Bro's picking on someone who gets 10.
It's like it just drives me crazy.
Awesome. Good banter. I love it.
Iowa State, Houston on February 22nd. They only play the once.
And where's that going to be played at? Do you know?
Houston.
That's game of the week. That's already game of the week. Yeah.
Oh, it's got to be.
That's game of the week. Yeah. Yeah. So what we got next?
How about teams on notice? Cool. If you don't mind, I would love to start.
I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about Marquette.
My Badgers suck. And both of the teams I'm putting on notice this week have beaten my Badgers. I can start with Marquette for you. Marquette obviously has lost.
Yeah.
Still a great team. Where I am concerned and why I want to put Marquette on notice is because in the next 2 weeks, in just over 14 days, they play Butler, Xavier, Providence, and Creighton. Now, they are better than all 4 of those teams, and I don't think that's a crazy thing to say.
Nope.
Playing the other 4 good teams in this conference, all back to back to back, coming off of losses, I feel like there's another loss here, and I feel like there can't be. There is not a top 15 Marquette that drops one of these games.
No.
So for me, that's the call out, is that Marquette needs to win the games they're supposed to win. Butler is down this year. Xavier is down this year. Creighton is down this year.
Yeah.
But if they knock off a superpower Marquette team in conference, they are right back in it. And Marquette doesn't cakewalk to the dance. They have to fight their way through. So I think going 4-0 in these games, and they're split home and away, I think going 4-0 in this game sets them up to dominate a conference that, quite frankly, they're better than this year.
Yeah.
But if you drop one of these, it doesn't look great. And if you drop 2 of these, you are in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, you're not in our top 25. That's
and that's what I wanted to put it out there. I don't think they lose any of these, but they need to make damn sure they don't.
I'm concerned. I'm concerned with the Creighton game, because Creighton has been wildly inconsistent. They look pretty bad. Their offensive approach is garbage. We know all of this, but they beat Kansas. And Kansas isn't exactly a bad team. We have them at 11. But that's a pretty big win for Creighton. And I can see, I don't know the games being played, but I can see Creighton.
It's in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
It's in Milwaukee, so they should be okay.
Yeah, but I can see Creighton winning that game. I don't know why, but that definitely a good call out on your behalf, I think. Yeah. I will go next with one of mine, and I'm going to start with kind of a shocker here. I'm going to start with Florida, and Florida is 4 for us. I have Florida at 5, so right in the top 5. I'm impressed with the way they've been playing. I think that the UNC game tomorrow is a trap game. UNC is also not playing well, but Florida has a very interesting approach to offense. And they're a bit turnover prone. Check this out. So they're averaging about 11 turnovers a game. Not too bad, but you kind of want single-digit turnovers if you're going to win the championship, right? UNC's forcing 12 turnovers a game. So, I don't think that Florida has yet to play a team that is as defensively strong as UNC is, because they've kind of had some weaker opponents thus far this year. And they're not shooting very well from the three-point line. 45% of their shot attempts are coming from 3, and they're only shooting 33% from the three-point range. And I'm worried that they haven't had a real test yet. And even though they haven't had that real test, their shooting performances aren't getting very better. And they're actually kind of going the opposite way. Like Florida A&M, they shot 41%, Rick, and they shot 39% against Wake Forest. And Wake Forest is not like the Chris Paul Wake Forest that we know anymore, right? Like that's a team that you should be, upper 40s, lower 50s in field goal percentage. The one thing I do like about Florida is they're averaging 15 offensive rebounds a game. So against a height challenged UNC, I think that'll give them a little bit of an edge. But they got to be careful. They got to make sure that their shot selection is good and they're getting to the rack. Because if they lose to that UNC team, they got Kentucky and Tennessee damn near back to back to start the new year. I don't know if they're going to beat Kentucky. I don't know if they're going to beat Tennessee. So imagine you lose to UNC and then to Kentucky and Tennessee, and now you got 3 losses before January ends. So not too concerned, just something I want people to think about, even though they're a very talented team.
That's that game's sitting 4.5 right now. I have it at 2.5.
Interesting. Yeah. So you as well think it's going to be close. It's.
Oh yeah. I think there's a lot of risk there. So yeah. I just looked that up and saw it was 4.5 at DraftKings. I might pop North Carolina plus 4.5. That might be one to hit right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Who you got next?
Shitty Illinois. God, I hate these teams so much. They got clapped by Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely destroyed. They came back and beat a pretty good Arkansas team.
Yes.
They lose to Northwestern. They beat what was the undefeated Badgers team. And then they play Tennessee really tight. We talked about that. That was mostly Tennessee's shooting, but they hung with Tennessee.
Yeah, they did. Yep.
What the hell? I don't know what to expect. And they have to go to Oregon real soon.
Yeah.
Real soon. Yeah. So which Illinois shows up? Is it the one that we've seen in every single game this season where they show up and they play tight and they play defense and their shots fall and the energy's there? Or is it the team that lost to Northwestern? Is it the team that lost by 30 points to Alabama? Because if that team shows up in Oregon, they're going to lose by 20, this Oregon team. And I don't know that Oregon looks back. I think if Oregon beats this Illinois team soundly, Oregon will be the first football and basketball Big Ten championship in years. Because there's not another Big Ten team that can get in their way, really. Yeah. So if the Illinois team gets spanked here and they go in with all that confidence, man, they already joined the Big Ten and kicked everybody's ass in football. I mean, basketball is right around the corner. So Illinois is on notice because Illinois needs to prevent the West Coast teams from taking over my conference, the Heartland Conference, the real gritty basketball. I want 44 to 47 games. I don't want shootouts in my Big Ten.
Yeah. And I think that's the reason why Illinois has won some of these bigger games, right? They held Tennessee to 32% shooting. and 25% from three. That wasn't Tennessee taking bad shots. That was Illinois getting in their face and making it a gritty game. So I really like your call out because, you still got Purdue. Like I know Purdue's not, the Purdue that we know, but like Purdue's going to beat Illinois, I think, this year. Like, Purdue's not the worst team in the Big Ten anymore, but I don't think they win that. I don't think they win that Oregon game either. I just, with the inconsistency that they've showed, I don't see it. So I really like your call out. So I went a very interesting direction here, and Mike Peterson's not going to be happy that I'm talking about another Utah team that isn't BYU. But I went Utah State. Everyone's like, what? I didn't even know that there was a Utah State. They're a tournament team. People. Yeah,
undefeated.
They're a tournament team, people. Okay, and they're destroying everyone right now. Like, I know their conference is weak, but their average margin of victory right now is 23 points. I'm not going to spend too much time on their offense. Not bad, 49% from the field, 35% from three, but very good at the free throw line. They've taken 241 free throws, and they're shooting 76%. That, to me, is like, again, you're getting downhill, you're being aggressive with your shot selection, and you're getting to the line where you're efficient. You're going to win a lot of games that way. The defensive side of the ball is absurd. They're averaging 17 turnovers a game, 22 points off of turnovers, and they're averaging 10 steals a game. 10 steals. Like, that's almost unheard of, right? And they forced Iowa, which, not a basketball school, but still a Power 5 school, right, to commit 18 turnovers, and 13 of them were steals. They had 13 steals against a Power 5 team. And I love teams that aren't afraid of playing these bigger schools, right? They go in, they play their style of basketball, and they get some big wins. And, they got a sneaky schedule coming up here, Rick. They got St. Mary's on December 22nd. They got San Diego State ranked right here for us, or at least in my rankings, I apologize. I have them at 21. And they got Boise State on the 11th of January. And I like Utah State upsetting St. Mary's, who did not look good at ASU. And if they win, like if they beat a St. Mary's team on December 22nd, like you're still undefeated. What's stopping you from actually getting in the top 25 and making some noise in the tournament? So kind of a little bit of a sneaky pick there, but big fan of the way they play. And I think they got a good chance to make a little bit of a Cinderella run here this year.
Well, and if you get through that San Diego State game, who's stopping them in the Mountain West? Because
right.
I mean,
it's not going to be UNLV. Like, so
I mean, these teams are not great. So
no, yeah. I mean, San Diego State probably is the best team in that conference, which got no problem saying. But I don't think they're going to beat the crap out of Utah State. Like, Utah State's a tested team, so excited to see what they do, man. Yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
Well, and people forget they lost by 20 in the end, but they played Purdue well.
Yeah. I mean, Purdue's largest lead was 20, and that's because the foul game happened at the end, and that's always what happens. But I'm excited, man. It's gonna be watch out for Utah State. Sorry, Mike, but watch out for Utah State.
Is BYU the third best team in Utah?
With the way they look this year, man, I think so. They're behind Utah, in my opinion. They're not in my top 25 anymore. Sorry, Mike.
All right, game of the week. Giving you guys a little bit of a different vibe. We've gone really, really top-ranked heavy. Oklahoma, Michigan, both ranked by the AP poll. So this is a ranked-on-ranked game. Is not for us. Michigan, right, just outside. I think they were 28th in our aggregate rankings. This is going to be a cool one. This is on the 18th. This is Wednesday night. For me, this is a top 25 play-in game. I had Oklahoma just outside. I had Michigan just behind them. Yeah. I touched on the Michigan State thing. Yeah. I think it's inevitable. So there's a little sneak preview here before I get too deep. I have Michigan winning this game. Okay. But I think it's going to be a good one. But for me, this is a belonging game.
Yeah.
One of these teams is a top 25 team, and the other one is not. And we get a chance to find out.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see exactly how that plays out.
Yeah.
But for me, Michigan is they're more whole and they're already tested. Oklahoma's good and
Okay.
they've beat good teams,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
all the teams they've beaten continue to lose. So their wins are looking less and less impressive as time goes on. And I think this is where it's going to turn, right? They're going to lose to a Michigan team who I think is going to look more and more impressive as time goes on. I think this Michigan team is a dark horse for the double bye in the Big Ten championship. And I think that it's going to start here. I think that playing a stronger opponent than kind of what they've done,
Yeah.
and you push and you push and you can kind of build off of what you're going to have to do in this game. And like you mentioned earlier, this is also an SEC team now. I mean, this SEC is stacked, and if you could kind of prove your mettle against the powerhouse conference in the country,
Yeah.
then you can go and you can beat up on Indiana and Northwestern and Illinois and a skilled Rutgers team and a good Michigan State team. But those teams are all worse than Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So for me, this is where it starts for Michigan, and I like Michigan to win this game.
Okay. Do you have any like 5 points, 4 points? What do you think? It's gonna be a barn burner no matter what, for sure. But I want to know what your thoughts are spread wise before I go into my spiel.
My model has this game 3.5 Michigan.
Michigan favorite. Okay. Very cool.
And the model's rounding into shape.
Is it?
The model is finally something that I feel a little more comfortable about. Yeah, man, there's been some weird shit going on. Yeah. 4.5, and it's a little too far out right now. The books don't have it up, but expected win maybe 56-58% for Michigan, which would make it like 3.5, 4, somewhere right in there.
Gotcha. God, I love when you talk about the spread and the expected win percentage. It's like, I'm a math guy, so I love that stuff. So I'm going to start by saying I have Oklahoma. So this is going to be a shot bet, most likely, for both of us. Just speaking frankly, he can't have whiskey, but I can. I'm worried about Michigan's ball control. Pause. They are averaging more turnovers per game at 15.5 than they are forcing at 14.5. And, a 1 turnover a game disparity isn't too much of a problem if you were a little more sound on the defensive side of the ball, because they're also averaging 16 fouls a game, and opponents are shooting 71% from the line. So the opponents are being aggressive against a Michigan defense that I think needs some work, and they're converting at the line. Offensively, they're only taking about 13 free throws a game, and they're shooting 67% on those attempts, right? So there just seems to be some like misalignment, I guess would be the right word. I don't want to say lack of effort because they play hard, but they're shooting 50% from the field, which is great. They're super efficient from inside. But if they fall in love with the three like they have kind of thus far this year, they're only shooting 35% from three. So I think against an Oklahoma team that has proven they can play some very, very hard-nosed defense, I'm worried that Oklahoma is going to get hopping around the floor, turning Michigan over. And I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think it might be a handy win by Oklahoma. And, I do think you have a point in saying Michigan is a bit more tested, but thus far this year, their best win is Wisconsin. And I'm sorry, but Wisconsin has kind of fell off our board a little bit too. I'm not trying to start a fight or anything, but if your best win is Wisconsin right now, that's worrisome.
You'll always know if you're arguing with a real Wisconsin fan because there's no counter argument. We know,
right.
We know. Like if you think you're fighting with a Badgers fan and they're coming at you, it's because they're not a Badger fan. They're from Wisconsin. They didn't go to school there. They have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, I love that you're so honest. And to round out my argument here, Oklahoma is their defensive scheme is masterful. That's literally what I have in my notes. turning teams over 16 times a game, 21 points off of turnovers. They're limiting teams to 42% on 568 field goal attempts. And like that means that teams are getting shots up, but they're not freaking making them because there's a hand in your face every single time. And they have this X factor coming off the bench. Oklahoma does. Watch out for Bryson Goodline. He's literally me if I was 6'5", faster, could jump higher. I'm telling you, listen to this. Comes off the bench and he literally does nothing but shoot. He has 0 assists on the season. He has 1 rebound, but he's averaging like 9 points a game because he's shooting 46% from 3 on 33 attempts. He has 3 shot attempts from inside the line. I love this guy, dude. Are you kidding me? This is me reincarnate. So I think, they got really strong bench. They shoot 60% from inside the 3-point line. So I like Oklahoma here. And I like Oklahoma by about 6 to 7 points. I was off last week.
Damn.
So yeah,
Okay.
I was off last week. So I got to be careful.
I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole, but I will say that Danny Wolf is going to out-rebound Sam Godwin by 4.5. He'll have 5 more rebounds.
Where did that one come from?
Those are the leading rebounders for each team.
Oh wow. Okay. Jeez.
I think it's going to be way low scoring.
Oh,
I think it's going to be a WNBA fest at the board.
And also just one quick shout out for you here. Look at the graphic again, man. I mean, is this guy like the most creative guy in the world here? Look at the Wolverine with the Sooner logo, almost just fires coming off it. I mean, you are just,
man, these throwbacks. These are some fun throwback ones.
Yeah. I'm impressed. But yeah, I got Oklahoma.
All right. Any last minute notes before we kick the live viewers out of here to film a little third section action?
No. I really want them to tell me who they think is going to win Iowa State Houston. I need them to get into the comments and I need them to tell me right now what their predictions are, because I have Iowa State by 13 in that game. So just I want some bold predictions. Let's be brash. But really looking forward to some really good games coming up this week and next.
Well, and speaking of bold predictions, if you join us for our third segment, which should be up on YouTube later this week, we're going to revisit some of our early season picks, make some bold predictions. You might say we call our shot.
I was almost dad jokey, but I'm going to let it slide.
But in the meantime, make sure you're watching on Chain Link for Oklahoma, Michigan on Wednesday evening. Play the damn game. It's free. If you're afraid of picking incorrectly because you don't know sports well, I understand that fear. A lot of people that play don't pick sports well, and you will fit right in.
Me, I'm one of them. I know ball, but I can't pick it. So get on there, download the app, and also get in the comments, please. Engage with us. Let us know who you think is going to be game of the week. If you don't want to download the app, put it in the comments. So we appreciate your engagement and give us some feedback, man.
Thanks for joining us, Dead Ball Dancing. We will see you potentially 24 to 48 hours from now if you're watching the Secret Third segments, which are way more lighthearted. There's way less just slander of fan bases and more just fun.
Agreed. Thanks for joining, guys. Thanks for being here.
See you next time, guys.